Hey guys, this is Hell Hades. This is a Raid Shadow Legends video. So guys, we're going to do a, I don't know, pretty boring video, I guess. We're going to look at gear, what I'm looking for in gear. Specifically, I'm going to try and upgrade a bunch of the important gear sets which are current. So the past has just ended for me. I picked up a bunch of Slayer gear. It's really solid gear. We've just come off the back of a lethal kind of event for Doom Tower, as in every 3 months we get the chance to pick up lethal gear. So I didn't farm as hard as I should have done, but I've farmed some up. So we're going to roll some of this. And then I've also been collecting a bunch of Pinpoint, wherever it is, Pinpoint gear as well. So basically what I'm going to talk through is what I'm looking for in those gear sets, what I'm looking for as I roll them up, whether I'm going to keep them or not. And, you know, basically I save now most of my resources at my stage in the game to roll for lethal or something like Slayer or Bolster, but always the 5 to 6 star stuff. So anything lower level for me, I just burn to sell. If you're an earlier game player, then the 4 to 5 star stuff in some of these sets is actually really good as well. Perception, absolutely godlike for, and even me now actually, but I don't farm as much of this ore. Perception, early game Guardian gear is really strong. Lethal gear is extremely strong. Bolster gear, extremely strong. Slayer set, pretty damn strong as well. So we're going to throw in all of our charms, which I've been saving up. For Slayer set or any damage set, you kind of want crit rate in the mix. Do I want to do that on my lethal first? I think I use lethal more than I do Slayer. So we're going to go lethal first. Crit rate. If you're being like really specific, as in I need more boots or I need more chests, then definitely select what you want here. It's probably worth, for something as valuable as lethal gear, selecting either the gloves, the chest, or the boots with these. I rarely use these charms, but honestly for these type of sets, it's really worth doing because they're so valuable to get the bottom row with the good substats. So again, let's do it as like a proper video. So what I would be doing here is I'd be looking at my lethal gear equipped, and I'd just be saying, right, what do I need the most of? Yeah, so if I look at attack percent, boots and gloves, I've got like 4 boots with crit rate. I've got a number of chests. And if I look at my crit damage gloves, I've got a number of them. But these are really valuable. Getting a crit damage glove and getting attack percent on your chests specifically are really valuable. And I've got a number of boots that I'm not wearing. So you can see though they're 5 star rather than 6. So actually I've only got 1 set of boots which are attack percent rolled. If I look at speed boots, as a look as well, I've only got 3 pairs of boots. So I might actually just roll boots on this. But gloves are valuable because you just use them basically the same type on everybody. But I'm going to go for boots with crit rate. And then if I roll speed or I roll attack percent, brilliant. Even honestly, defense percent or HP percent as the main stat can be good for nukers that do damage in a different way, like, you know, Harima or someone like that. Okay, so we're just going to roll these up. I'm going to ping through this. Basically looking. So I won't do any sort of cleansing at this point. I'm just going to get the gear in. I do have some space on my account to just get gear in. So I'm just going to ping them in. I guess I'll do all of this and I'll bring you to the point where we start clearing it out. Okay, so it's worth saying we do have an artifact enhancement event running, which does definitely help if you're doing this type of thing. And also if you're doing rebuilds, I don't know if I've got any myself actually right now, but no, if you've got any of the kind of like free gear removal stuff, then that's a great time to use those things. Okay, let's start with damage dealing sets. So we're going to go into my where is it, my lethal gear now. We're going to go into my Slayer gear. I can also talk about Merciless. Christ, I've got loads of Slayer gear. Okay, good. So first thing I do is, and this is me personally with a later game account, I'm going to talk you through what I do, but then I'll talk you through perhaps if you're an earlier game what you should do. This works in the same way for any damage dealing sets, by the way. I'm talking damage. So we're talking Cruel gear, Savage gear, Lethal gear, Slayer gear, Merciless gear. I guess, yeah, any of the main damage dealing sets. What makes them a damage dealing set? they give you some sort of bonus that improves your crit, your attack, some form of ignore defense. That's like the top tier items for doing damage in this game, especially ignoring defense. So first thing I do is I call out my 5-star gear, okay, and I'll do a cleanse of 5-star gear first, because for me 5-star gear is pretty obsolete. So it has to be higher than rare, okay? For me, has to be higher than rare at 5-star for me to even consider using it, especially for the top items. So if we were just doing this, I won't even check the stats of this 5-star rare gear for me. Now, for you, you might not be as advanced in the game as I am, in which case you will be checking the stats and you will be looking for crit rates as the main thing. That's your main substat that you want. But combinations of crit rate, crit damage, attack percent. They're the 3 main ones for a damage dealer. But you do have non-attack based heroes. So it might be crit rate, crit damage, and defense percent or HP percent in those different areas. And then the additional stats could be things like accuracy. Take Thor, needs some accuracy in his build. It could just be, you know, HP percent to keep your guys alive. Stuff like that. So combinations. But if it doesn't have crit rate in the first place, basically I will get rid. In the optimizer, by the way, I can filter this out in seconds. I did a separate video about that. I'm not going to go into an optimizer video for this one, but there is tools now in the optimizer to make this literally seconds to just filter that stuff out. I'll link a video down below so you can see me doing that. Okay, so I'm looking at this rare gear. Honestly, for me, I will just sell all of it, but you should just be looking and say, like, does it have combinations? Oh, of course, speed is another good stat. Does it have combinations of good stats? So if this was a 6-star piece, I would potentially roll it up. But for me, it's all gone, okay? Especially in these kind of like easy slots to fill. Now, again, take something like Slayer. Because we get it so rarely, it's even more important to consider the substats for you. It's even more important. And Merciless. And, you know, all of those ones which are hard to get. You definitely want to be checking the stats. You'll notice I'm doing it on top row first because I'm more protective over my bottom row, which is hard to get, especially in these sets that don't come along all the time. And the reason why I'm more selective is because you get insane benefits from like filling the set up. So if you've only got a couple of pieces that could potentially do the job, you kind of just have to use them until you get better gear. Slayer is particularly good at, well, it's good at 4-piece. It's good at 6-piece, like really good because you're ignoring defense. And then at 9-piece, if you've got people that do a lot of AoE damage, you've got a chance to get the AoE hits going off again, which is pretty nuts. Slayer is also extremely good as just a filler piece because you get crit rate on it. And crit rate, as I said earlier, is basically the most important stat to try and fill because you want 100% crit before you start building your damage. If you're not critting, then it's kind of like, what's the point? So this is really a great set, honestly, as a filler. Even as a ring, you know, if you've got like a, I don't know, a crappy ring that normally you would sell, I'm keeping it because this might be the 5% crit rate I need to complete a build, and I'd rather max out the crit rate and worry about the other stats elsewhere. So in jewelry, I think it's the only way. I don't know if Merciless does the same, actually. Let me just check. No, Merciless gives you attack. I think Slayer is the only way to get crit through accessories, which is massive. You know, it's massive when you're trying to finish your builds off. So bear that in mind as well. You need to be just careful about what you get rid of. Okay, so if we look at this bottom row again in these sets, and what I'm looking for here. So let's start with the 5-star gear. I'm looking for, in gloves, ideally crit damage as my main stat if I'm building a damage dealer. Ideally, if you're earlier game, you might be going crit rate, but as soon as you can, pushing into crit damage makes a massive difference. So crit damage is the main stat, and then with good substats in things like crit rate, attack percent, speed, accuracy, all of the ones that we've already spoken about. In 5-star gear, I'm personally not as bothered because, especially in gloves, I really want 6-star gloves because you also get better ascension for 6-star. But again, if I'm an earlier game player, Yeah, I'd be looking for good combinations of those stats. For something like Slayer, where you might use it on someone different, would I ever keep non-crit damage? Not very. There's not very many options where I'd be like, oh yeah, sure, this is just going to be a non-damage set. There's also something to say that you might roll if you've got a bunch of ores. You might just be like, well, that's not good for me right now. Could be okay for a bomb champion. That's the only time you take attack % gloves. But you might just be like, well, I've got a ton of these. If you've been playing for a while, like I've got tons of these, so I don't really keep 5-star stuff. So I might just literally be like, oh, well, I can just rework it and see what the rework is. And if it's any good, then I'll keep it, especially with these sets, which are extremely rare to get. But for me, I would basically sell the lot in terms of gloves. For chests, though, I do wear and keep a lot of 5-star gear. I just don't have good enough 6-star yet. So for chests, main stat I'm really looking for is attack %. And then I'm looking for that crit rate, crit damage. There's some instances, as I said, where defense % or HP % might be the main stat. But I'm looking for good combinations of substats as well. Attack % with crit damage is okay, but you really want at least a couple of the pieces. I'm going to re-roll all of those. Attack %, but not with anything really worthwhile. Attack %, nothing worthwhile. Flat attack, basically useless at this stage of the game. But if you've only got a couple of pieces and you're looking to keep the six-piece set, you might keep some of this stuff. So you can see how quickly we just don't like basically any of this trashy gear. Attack % with crit rate and accuracy might be okay. We'll roll it. Very quickly, we've sold basically all of it. In boots, exactly the same thing. So I'm either looking for speed or I'm looking for the kind of like main stats that make sense. Again, I might re-roll those. And I'm looking for the crit rate, crit damage as substats. Attack % is way more important to me than the other main stats, just because I will use it more often. One good substat is probably still worth rolling, honestly, on something like boots. One set of speed boots. Okay. So instantly 44 out of what? 50, maybe 60. Like for me, vast majority is gone. You might not be as picky as I am. And then a bunch of these, they're only here because I'm reworking them just to see if we land the right main stat and then some substats which make any sense. So I will rework all of these and probably end up selling them all as well, by the way. I wish it would stay in its place, though, so that I know which ones I've done. And this is only because I've got so many of these 5-star ones. I very rarely will even look at 5 stars. Just for this video, I'm like, you know what? I should pick up more 5-star and use it. So I've got plenty of builds that do use 5-star, but none of those are any good. So currently, out of the 5-star stuff, I've got one chest which I would roll. Take that up to level 8. And I'm looking for a double roll and crit rate. Of course, it goes a double roll here. It's still not horrendous, by the way. This is still not a bad piece. I'd be looking for a decent other substat. HP %'s okay. For my account, this would be sold, right? But you might still be looking for speed or crit damage here. And then you might just ascend it to level 1 if you've got a decent amount of ascension stuff and just see what that lands as well. So for me, this is a definite sell. But this piece is not terrible for, you know, for a chest. That's the main thing, for a chest. If it was, yeah, for a chest in a set that's really hard to get. So just gonna rework these. Attack % with crit damage and crit rate with the roll in crit damage. That's got good potential now. Beautiful. Sold. This one we're just gonna roll. Honestly, it's only got one good substat, but you might roll it and see if you just get a ton of crit rate. If you'd like a triple roll and crit rate, you might still keep it. And this one, again, we'd roll it. We're hoping to see double crit rate. But one, still potentially a keeper because it's a pair of speed boots. You'd want to see a better next stat. It's probably a 50-50 just to get rid of straight away, but I'll go through it, so I've got plenty of silver. This one is like a, yeah, it'll probably sit there and I'll probably never use it, but I do check the ascension straight away. Obviously, I can re-roll it, but I don't want to waste ores on, or the dust on, like, worse pieces of gear. So this one, if that had rolled in speed straight away, it's more likely to stay, but probably for me, that's just a goner anyway. Okay, that's one to roll. So out of the 5-star gear, we've got one chest which we might keep, and then we've got one pair of boots which could be pretty good. Feeling much better. Already this is now a keeper. Oh, it'd be so nice if that kept going. But crit rate would be great now because we really want to build the crit rate in all items so that we can get that crit damage pair of gloves on. So crit rate's definitely a stat that we're looking for. Beautiful. So for a 5-star piece, this one's actually good. And you really want to see now either a double up on that attack percent, or I wouldn't mind some speed, honestly, because I've got no speed on the piece. And most builds nowadays, you do want to get fast. So the way I deal with this, I probably wouldn't do it on a 5-star set, but for dust, if it's like a very high priority piece, I'll roll all of my dust. I'll literally roll it all, especially if I'm doing it for a build there and then. But if it's something like this, because it costs more dust every time you re-roll or rework this stat, I might do it once. See if I get lucky. If I don't get lucky, I'm like, well, it's a stat that I can use, whatever. I wouldn't do it again. Unless it was literally like my best pair of boots, you know? So, because dust gets very expensive very quickly. I would go through the same process here on my lethal stuff. So I wouldn't be keeping really 5-star gear unless it was god tier. So we can get rid of all of those. I would roll an attack percent pair of boots with crit rate on it and hope to get a triple roll. Got, again, a single roll. Might ascend it at this point at level 12 just to see what it's going to ascend as. But this is basically a goner for me. It does get speed, though, actually. It's not bad. Okay, maybe we'll keep it. Because I don't have a lot of lethal gear. But honestly, the other substats are all trash. So it's one of these like cheat ones that I probably will never use it, but it's there just in case I need it for a build. Let's just check the top row stuff. Again, you can see I have kept some other pieces, but because they got a good combination of those stats that I like. But they're not on anyone right now. That's the thing to be aware of. So for me, it has to be like a godlike roll to even consider it. And, you know, for, I guess for the average player that hasn't played for as long as I have, then, you know, you'd probably still be looking at, give me at least 2 substats that I like. So if this rolls into crit rate or speed, it's interesting. Double crit rate is now nice. A triple would be like, okay, this piece probably could get some playtime. Even if it's in just like one of my, you know, Sintranos type builds. This one, honestly, it's probably too many trash stats, but if it quad rolled crit rate or something, it could be interesting. Even then, in a 5-star piece, it's probably not because of the other substats. So I'm just getting rid. Okay, let's get into the sexier stuff then. Let's go on to our 6-star. So again, what I do is filter by rare first, because I know that I'm going to clear out a lot of the rare. And I'm doing the same process. Nothing's changed, but I'm now more tolerant of the stats, especially in the bottom row. So, and even on, so this is potentially good. Even on rare stuff, because I've got a lot of these rework things, in a set like Lethal, I'd probably rework it. In fact, I'm going to rework it and hope to see speed or attack percent with a couple of good substats. Didn't get it, so it's still trash and it's gone and I wasted my thing. This one, I'm keeping it either way. I don't have many attack percent boots. I'm keeping it either way. I'm loving a double roll and crit rate here. Single's still decent though, with high rolls, it's decent. And probably, I've got speed as well, which is nice. I take it to 12, I descend it. Don't like the ascension. So what I tend to do is I'll probably leave it at this state until I'm doing a build. And then I'll come back and roll it. Or if we're in an artifact event like right now, I'll just take it up and see if we get crit damage here. We didn't. We got defense percent. So this is now an okay set of boots, but definitely not a bad one. Okay, don't, you know, it's still, for most accounts, that'll be a great set of boots. For all of the Slayer stuff, again, Slayer doesn't come around very often. We're looking for 2 good stats together to keep rare stuff. So crit rate, crit damage, attack percent, speed, could be okay, could be okay. You do find though, you end up with a lot of stuff, especially in that top row, that eventually you'll do like a clean down even further. But for now, you're just trying to get a gauge of, for the top row, how many pieces do I want to keep? And yeah, basically decide whether you want to roll it or not. So this one, you can't really bad roll here, but I would probably take it to level 8, double roll speed. Ideally looking for double rolls into a stat so you can like specialize a build. And then normally I'd take it to 12 to see if I got another good substat, which I have here. So I could roll this one to 16, but I don't need to right now. Again, I'll take this one to 12 and see where we go with it. It's okay, HP percent. I really want to see crit somewhere. So this one now is like on the cusp for me. It's probably just a goner, really. If I didn't see crit rate in that third slot. This one, like if it double rolls crit damage, I like it. And we got some accuracy, pretty good. Again, might take it up just to see if we get crit rate in the last slot, which we didn't. Chances are that one's probably never going to be used on my account. But, you know, in stuff like Hydra builds, you need a lot more stats nowadays. You need a much wider range of stats than just damage. So it could be that that's interesting still. This one can't roll badly, but I'd like it to roll crit rate. Rolled resistance in the third slot. It's okay. It's nothing special. Same sort of thing here. Seeing what the third piece is. It's okay. Didn't roll the crit rate. So that one's unlikely to be used. Same idea here. So top row, much easier to deal with because you've got more stuff to work with. Again, bottom row, I might end up reworking all of these. If I was like really looking for new, good 6-star pieces. Or I'd see like how successful we've been with the base stuff. So anything attack percent with crit rate or crit damage, I'm enjoying a lot. And I'm taking it straight up to level 12. I will keep them. Hoping for another good substat. I'm ascending it straight away to see what we're rolling. And I don't need to roll it right up right now unless I need to finish the artifact event. But basically, we know we're keeping those pieces. Two kind of bad other substats, honestly. But with 13% crit rate on attack percent, I still need to keep it. Like, I just don't have enough of that type of gear. So nothing much else there. Same sort of thing with the boots. I'm just looking for the better pieces. Either speed rolls or attack percent are the main ones I want to find. Take this one up to 12. Got attack percent, crit damage, and speed. It's pretty good. Hoping for a decent ascension, but we didn't get that. But this one probably would be a keeper anyway. I want to see crit rate in that final slot, but just means I'd have to find a bunch of crit rate elsewhere, which is why it's so important. So I'd rework most of this other stuff and then just sell the ones which are bad. But then we look at the epic and the legendary pieces, and this is where I want to find basically my godlike rolls. I'd normally do it this way around first, epic and legendary first, because I would save my reworks for this stuff. And really, I'm only reworking the bottom row. I'm not really reworking top row stuff because you just get way more of it. So piece like this, HP percent, but with crit rate and speed and defense percent. So think about what this could be. A mythical champion like Frolny who gets benefit from HP and defense. We like it. We need crit rate because we want him to do damage. We need speed. We want him in lethal gear. And unless even if I triple rolled into HP flat, I probably would keep this piece. Obviously, I don't want that. And I want the crit rate rolls ideally, which is all nice. So this now becomes like a really decent damage piece for an HP champion. And roll defense percent as well. So tanky, but I still want them to do crits is pretty much where this one is. And that's quite a lot of my HP type of champs, honestly. There's not much call for lethal with accuracy. I guess there might be some instances nowadays where you're trying to get your accuracy elsewhere. Like if this one triple rolled crit rate, it'd still be decent. It could still be decent, honestly, even as it is. But I don't think so. I think for most players, there's not the calling for this piece. Lethal, where you max out accuracy, feels like it would be too niche. So I wouldn't have reworked. I wouldn't have rolled it all the way to 16 to then rework normally. But for the video, I'll show you what can happen. So then you'd see this. HP flat, double crit rate we like, speed we like, crit damage we like. So it's like, would you ever need this piece? This can actually be a really good piece for an enemy max HP champion. Someone like a Seer or someone like a Cold Heart, where their main stat matters a lot less than just hitting a crit and being in lethal gear. So bear that in mind as well when you're building out enemy max HP champs. Something like this piece with a flat main stat can actually be still useful. So speed boots, but with nothing on it that I like. Flat attack, we definitely would rework. It's kind of bait, really. Attack percent, but with nothing that I like. If it rolled a bunch of speed, it could be good. And again, if we rolled it up in its attack here, could be good. But I'm kind of in the realm of just wasting resources because I know I want more of this set. And that's a dangerous place to be as well. You end up just blowing a load of your stuff because you're hopeful that there's some world where that piece would work. I'd probably roll this to level 8, see if I rolled one of the top 2. Of course, we rolled double resist. Again, there's some situations in Hydra where you might go resistance build, but it's unlikely. So I'd basically be selling out the rest of those pieces. This one could be a good defensive nuker. Again, speed and crit rate is nice with defense percent here. I would send it to see what comes up. Probably a decent chance that a defensive damage dealer is going to need accuracy because their builds are more focused around taunts and stuff like that. So this ends up being definitely a keeper. Okay, let's move into, I guess let's do Slayer gear as well. So I start by pressing sell and I'm looking for stuff really that doesn't have combinations of at least 2 damaging substats on the epic and legendary. This is a really nice potential. That's got good potential as well. Good potential. I really want crit rate though as one of these substats. So you see where I'm like hesitant. Sometimes it's just like, is it really gonna be worth my silver? So get rid of those. And then again, I can't do a bad roll here. It can't go badly. They're all good substats. So I'm just gonna whop it straight up to 16 and see what the last one is. Crit damage. Very nice piece. Very nice piece. This one I will take to 8. I kind of want to see this. Didn't see any of it. Is it still worth? Maybe it's still worth anyway. They're all good substats. Do really want to see more crit coming in though. And there's also a situation where it's like, damn, I've got a lot of weapons sitting around that, you know, that I thought was really good at the time, and I'm not using them because this set's a bit more niche. So there is a question here of like, are you actually going to use it for your account, you know? So this piece here I was quite interested in. Roll it to 8, see if we get those top 2. Beautiful. Top 2 or the bottom one now I'm happy with. Beautiful. Double crit rate would be good. Beautiful. Beautiful piece. Okay. So gloves, again, we're looking for those crit damage gloves. But ideally with crit rate or some sort of substats that makes sense as well. So gloves are a tragedy. Most of my rerolls go into gloves, honestly, my reworks. Attack percent with 3 bad substats and crit damage. Oh, man. Just seeing if I've got any other chests in this sort of realm right now. Already had one that you saw I got baited into. Probably not worth rolling, honestly. This one, though, this one has got the opportunity to be godlike. Any of the top 3. Any of the top 3. That's what we want. Come on. Don't you go down there. Oh, so bad. So bad. That's so sad seeing that going down there. It's still something I'd probably keep it anyway. But it's so annoying that I got 2 down there. But yeah, it's still a good piece. Again, if we didn't get these rolls down here, and let's say they were up here, I would probably rework this one until I got attack percent with the dust. Still good piece though. Okay, and then boots, same sort of idea. Again, looking for those speed boots or attack percent with crit rates. We've got no crit rate, but 2 great substats or 2 good substats and 1 okay one. So this is just a straight level, honestly. There's not really a world where I wouldn't be able to use these. It's rolled particularly average, I would say, but still very usable set of boots. And that's my damage gear. So that's how I treat damage gear in general. Pinpoint gear, I just farmed some of this as well. So I'll show you the pinpoint. Pinpoint, I'm looking for accuracy and speed. What sort of set is it? It's a set that your debuffer will wear to land debuffs in arena. That's the main reason, okay? But also debuffs anywhere in the game, I guess. But arena specifically, that's why the intercepts are important. So with Pinpoint gear, you're basically just looking for combinations of speed and accuracy. And for me, 5-star gear will go. Again, you want to make sure that you can build multiple slots of this. Yeah, you're kind of building people out in, 6 pieces, 8, 9 pieces even. So having like multiple opportunities of builds is really important. There's situations where you might just roll up, mainly for me, 6-star gear, but if it's got just speed and it was 6-star, I would roll this up to see if I got like a high speed roll, even without accuracy on it. For bottom row, you really want the main stats to be now more defensive stats generally. So defense percent, HP percent are normally what you'd be wearing on your debuffers because you want them to stay alive. There's a situation where you might say crit rate's a good one. And similarly with chests, you're now looking for HP percent with accuracy and speed on it, or you're looking for accuracy as the main stat because there'll be builds where you just want as much accuracy as you can get. So not seeing a whole lot here. There's not many situations where I wouldn't want speed as the main stat on boots. So I'll keep the speed boots. Even without accuracy there, the speed boots could still be used and valuable to me. But you get a lot of value if you've got a substat that you can roll even on rare gear. Rare gear, which are 6-star speed with accuracy here. It's like a 50-50 whether you're rolling accuracy. So they become very valuable to you. So we've got to clear all that out. And then similarly with, can't just filter on a set here, can I? So similarly with something like Pinpoint in accessories. Now, because you get accuracy and then speed, I'm keeping tons of Pinpoint accessories at the moment. Probably way more than I need. And I'm filling up my accessories like crazy, honestly, because you do get a decent amount of them drop. Accuracy is what you're going to be wanting for your main stat on your banners, ideally with speed as a substat. Really, any amulets that have got accuracy as a secondary stat would be useful. So you see I kept this one here, and I kept this one here. And then there's not really many rings that would be bad. Most of your debuffers are going to be defensive in basis, so you're going to have, defense as a main stat looking for defense and HP, or HP as the main stat looking for defense and HP. But also you have damage dealers that need accuracy as well, right? So any rings can be useful. And at the moment, I'm not clearing too much stuff out because I'm going to wait until the dungeon is pretty much done, and then I'll start clearing out massively. But I think the biggest win for this dungeon is having the opportunity to just gain like accuracy and speed with accessories. With like rings and amulets. And for that reason, I'm keeping a decent amount of Pinpoint. In fact, to the level where I've sold so much basic spider gear now for me, because all of the other types of accessories are just better. Pinpoint's better. Merciless way better. Stone Skin better. Like there's old, for me as a later game player, original spider gear, unless it's godlike, basically goes now and is replaced with this other stuff. So I think that's going to do it for the video. Hopefully that's been useful and not too boring. Anyway, I've been Hell Hades. I'll see you soon.